I'm quite flattered to see the number of people who've come out today, and I thank you and appreciate your taking the time. I very much, ladies and gentlemen, I very much appreciate this invitation. And as I said, I am truly flattered at your request for me to speak. However, I must admit that I do enjoy speaking to men and women who are interested in their communities, as I hope that my words will then be taken with you and thought about as you go about your work and you go about your life. Your attendance here today speaks about you seeing your role as active citizens and wanting to help. I therefore decided to talk about how you can make a difference in your own lives and in the lives of those in your community, based obviously upon my own personal experiences. I also reflected upon the fact that I was primarily addressing business people and entrepreneurs, although my academic friends are here, which was a surprise for me, and been invited to speak as Chancellor of Western, as Tara said. So I tried to connect a theme that would also be meaningful for you as it relates to my beloved alma mater. As I said in my inauguration speech, it transformed my life. This led to a topic for today that is very dear to my heart, which is called venture philanthropy, by me and by many others. Through the use of venture philanthropy, my wife and I have discovered a way to create a legacy of which we are very, very proud. Let me assure you that at my stage of life, one looks back on the decisions one made in the context of one's legacy. And I was talking to Mr. Cohn about that at our age. We do that. When I turned 60, I faced the decision of how to use my resources. I decided to step aside from business and commit to public service, whether through philanthropy, volunteerism, or involvement with government for the development of public policy. I started with health research, which led to the public policy for health research, which eventually led to what the country and the province call the innovation agenda for both the province and for the country. To each, I have dedicated my resources. You must understand that we must all address at various times in our lives how to prioritize the use of our resources, which is what I did at that time. And today, I am asking you to reflect on these things in your life. I believe each person must think about legacy, because unless you manage your resources mindfully, your allocation process of your resources will be decided by default through what is already wired into your brain, and I've learned a lot about the brain, but also into your heart, or often by pressure from others deciding what to do with your resources. It's never settled in a single moment, but rather it is a continuing process, and it's often quite messy. Even if you have a focus on what is important to you, it is difficult to know whether your choices are right. If there's a little more energy or time or money, there are many people pushing to have you with them rather than somewhere else of your own choice. These concerns of the right choice or pressure from others often lead to one feeling not in charge of your own personal destiny. Therefore, I suggest you do as I did when I turned 60 and address your legacy as being important. Although there's a number of young people here, they may be a little under the age level to do that. But that your effort on your time and ability should look to fulfill your legacy, and both should be top of mind at the various stages in your life. There is no question one must and does direct their precious energy into building a career or their business. However, you are also citizens, as I've said, of a community with responsibilities, with values and beliefs. Therefore, I'm asking you to reflect upon how you allocate your time and your ability and your money. At this time in your life, it turns out that is the way to achieve what you hope for. Every decision you make about how you spend your energy, your ability, and your money is a statement about what really matters to you. And you must be careful to invest these resources consistent with what matters to you. Let us be clear, you are going to have a legacy whether you like it or not. Therefore, it's helpful, as I reflected upon it and determined, to somehow shape it and articulate it. And this effort requires thoughtful consideration of what it is that will help you build it. And it took me 2 years of effort to make my decisions. In fact, I even hired a psychologist to help me, apropos to your profession. What became important for me at 60 when I retired from business was I wanted to see my role in a way that was going to have a positive and enduring impact in society. Fortunately, as I said earlier, I had the freedom to make that choice. My only regret, which is what happens to most people, is I did not start thinking about my legacy early enough for my choices. I wish I had addressed it earlier and turned from business to public service when I was 50 instead of 60. My advice for you is therefore to consider venture philanthropy as a vehicle or as a means or as your path. Venture philanthropy is a way to think about how your desired legacy can become a catalyst for action, not later, but now. My father taught me the most powerful way to inspire others to participate in philanthropy is for them to see individuals giving. And my wife and I have done that, as I think Beth or Laura has indicated. And I think most of us have heard those words before. You don't become leaders in a community without understanding that reality at some point. But as I prepared my remarks for this morning, I heard echoes of another more important piece of fatherly advice, which was, don't just write a check and walk away. My father taught his children and lived his life on the belief that writing the check was the easy part. It is giving of one's time and ability that is the most difficult. But he believed if you contribute time and your ability and your money, anything is possible. Reflecting back, it's amazing how these words have come to define specifically my views on philanthropy over the past 40+ years. For me, asking a single question, like how much can I give, instead I ask several questions that probe my willingness to dedication. How can I use my business and entrepreneurial skills to improve society? How can I build something necessary that does not exist today? How can I address positive transformation of an existing organization through an entrepreneurial ability? And my colleagues from the Department of Philosophy and the university are here today, where I started an institute in philosophy that is somewhat transformative, and it's usually not where philanthropy goes. But I did so because I studied philosophy, and as I said, it transformed my life when I was here in London and I graduated in 1957. When you start to consider the answers to the questions that I've tabled and see the opportunities, you start to see the difference. The one simple question of what to give requires only a dollar figure as an answer, and the ability to write the check, obviously. Venture philanthropy, however, is a reflection of you, your passion, your priorities and your commitment and your dedication, your willingness to ask others to help and to collaborate with you. Many philanthropists see a specific need and are helping by filling that need with cash donations, an MRI machine, a building, or scholarships for those in need of assistance for an education. That is a wonderful outlet and motivator for philanthropy and will lead to continued progress in specific organizations. These gifts are needed and are most worthy and allow our institutions to move forward and improve and keep current. And I have participated in many such initiatives. But there is this other way, one I find far more rewarding for me personally, which is what I refer to as venture philanthropy. While continued progress is established in areas and is needed and required, I have enjoyed the process of creating solutions in areas where work is either in its infancy or in a few cases didn't exist at all. That's why I and others refer to it as venture philanthropy, just like venture capital. It is high risk, but the rewards are very high as well. To get an idea of what venture philanthropy clearly means, consider what I have said, that this type of giving requires much more than just money. It is a decision of where you personally are going to invest your time and your ability, and do not underestimate the commitment of your ability. But at the same time, you're only providing what we refer to as the seed funding for this venture. And in philosophy, we'll be out passing the cup because I've provided the seed funding to start with. Venture philanthropy is a way of focusing on what's meaningful to you, to which you will be associated by your prioritization, dedication, and determination, just like starting up a new business. My interest for the last 18 years after my retiring has been primarily interconnected in two themes: life sciences and innovation. I was lucky to meet up with several great leaders in these fields, names you will likely recognize: Dr. John Evans, Dr. Henry Friesen, and Dr. Cal Stiller of London, Ontario. Since those early days, these leaders involved me on the founding of many of this province's and country's important boards, like the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, Ontario Genomics, and the Mars Discovery District. Let me describe a specific example of working with Dr. Evans and Dr. Stiller and several others. You'll forgive my rasping. I've developed a bit of a vocal cord problem, so you'll bear with me. In 2000, I led the preparation of a report to the province of Ontario called the BioCouncil Report. We recommended the creation of the Mars Discovery District for the province. In the end, we decided that we needed to bring together all of the players in the innovation process to collaborate in order to succeed, bringing together government, business, academia, and philanthropy. We set out to nurture scientific and technological as well as social innovation into successful entrepreneurial businesses and activities. This Mars facility now has become a center of taking the seeds of ideas and helping them blossom into successful startups. Let me give you the background. We tried for 2 years to convince our provincial government to create an innovation center for Ontario, as we as a province and as a country were and are falling to innovate like others in the world, and in particular the USA, such as the Silicon Valley and Boston. An example, John Evans had to sell a company to a USA firm, and it moved the offices and the factory to California. We in Canada then imported the products from the factory that had previously been located here in Canada. This experience motivated Dr. Evans to feel the need for action and transformation for the innovation agenda. We had the intellectual property, we had the people, we just couldn't make it work. At the same time, Dr. Stiller, this goes in the late 90s, early 2000s, was the key advisor to the Premier of this province on life science research and innovation. John, Cal, and Ken Knox, a deputy minister, agreed upon the need for what they called Mars. Where did that come from? Cal and Ken were brainstorming and talked about the Kennedy dream of a man on the moon. So they said, we should be talking about Mars, just like Kennedy talked about going to the moon. Then they had to figure out what did the letters mean that made it relevant. And I always laugh at this, and I thought you would enjoy it. So they had to think hard, but they came up with medical and related sciences. But it was the opposite to what's normally happened. And I was asked to join them, which was a great honor and a great privilege to be with these three giants in the mid to late 90s. We were sitting around a boardroom after 2 years of advocacy, being very frustrated at the Torstar office building where John was chairman. Susan Smith, one of the group, said we needed to do this with philanthropy. The bulb lit up for me, and I said to John, if you, John, donate $1 million, I will also do the same, and together, with Cal's help, we will raise in million-dollar amounts enough to get Mars as a concept off the ground. John said, I'm in. We raised $15 million in 1 million gifts based on an idea. Although people either said we were crazy or thought it, but people, entrepreneurs who were successful, who understood we were trying to help the country not lose another company like John Evans lost, like Arthur Labatt, the prior chancellor to our great university, Peter Monk, Lawrence Bloomberg, Alan Slate, Bill Wilder, companies like AIC and AstraZeneca. Then we went to the U of T after raising 15 and said, you are the closest to this location Mars. We want you to come up with 5 million to make it 20. And fortunately, Bob Birgeneau and Heather Monroe Bloom at that time agreed to do so. We then convinced the Ontario Finance Minister, Minister Flaherty, to give us $20 million. $20 would not have helped. And we did it by embarrassing them. We said, we as entrepreneurs and leaders of this province and country who have been successful know that this is needed and have given the money for the idea, but you, the government, should be doing this. And therefore, we are telling you a message that the country needs this. With that, he had no choice. And he gave us the 20 million. With that, we went to the feds under Prime Minister Chrétien for another 20 million. This allowed us to purchase the land on College Street between University Avenue and Elizabeth, which was then being sold by the UHN under their restructuring and redevelopment proposal. We had enough money to buy the land and the building. However, we were tight and we had to convince the UHN to sell it for $10 million less than an offer that they had from a developer for condos. And how did we do that? We said to them, when you drive down Queen's Park onto University Avenue and you see condos at the corner of University and College Street, where the province gave you as an institution land to put up a hospital, and now it's condos, you will regret that. What you need to do is commit to public purpose, which they did, and took $10 million less for the land. They understood venture philanthropy. Today, Mars has a total of 1,000,006 square feet leasable, with a value of between $400 to $600 million. The largest center of its type in the heart of a city. Today, Mars is an innovations center creating new companies and acts as an incubator to keep them successful. Think of it, that original $15 million of venture philanthropy, seed venture funding, led to the creation of Mars, worth $400 to $600 million. That is what I am talking about. And Mars is a perfect example of what I refer to as high risk, but a great philanthropic opportunity, and there isn't one of us who regrets giving $1 million. No recognition, okay? No building name, nothing. We knew it would needed to be done, and each person has thanked me and thanked Joe for involving them because they are proud of it. All this is not a matter of social do-goodness on my part. As I have said in the past to others, it's not that I'm altruistic or that I feel I'm giving back. I am simply playing my part in creating a greater society, which is something I believe in, by doing what I love to do and doing what I find meaningful and rewarding, which are involvements for myself and for me personally. And this type of philanthropy has allowed me to live a life of experience beyond my wildest expectations as a young man. This week, as I sit as Chancellor overseeing Western's convocation, I see the faces of hundreds of the country's best young minds heading into the world for the first time. I hope they understand that a meaningful life is not limited to those who can afford it, which was me, but should be seen as an opportunity for everyone available, including themselves. The lucky ones are those who can find and pursue their passion, who do not fear obstacles, who are not afraid of failing, who accept doubt, who maybe are stimulated or motivated by skepticism of others, but they follow their hearts and their minds in the pursuit of what I call your dreams. And that provides the courage to pursue those dreams. I'm fortunate that my financial success has allowed me to fuel my interests and ideas in ways I could never have imagined. But I could never have done it alone, as collaboration remains a key to all things. The example of Mars clearly demonstrates the need to pull good people together, which started with Cal Stiller, John Evans, Ken Knox, and then brought in people like Susan Smith and myself. And that example clearly demonstrates, as my father said, that anything is possible if you do it right. The same principles apply for you who are here today because of the type of people you are by coming to this kind of event. Right here in London, my colleagues at Western Brain and Mind Institute are bringing together top minds from psychology, philosophy, music, physics, and business to explore a true frontier, the human mind. And it is incredible to watch the work being done by these scholars who in the past would have worked in their own solitary fields of endeavor. The seed of the importance of collaboration was planted in me when I was a student here. In the early 50s, I read a particular author. I can't remember who recommended him to me. I'm sure it was one of my teachers. I read C.P. Snow, and he was a Cambridge research scientist, but was also a novelist. And he coined the phrase, two cultures. to refer to the growing chasm between the thinking of scientists and that of literary intellectuals. He saw the chasm as a barrier to solutions for many of the world's pressing problems. He was correct, and today we are still living with the fallout of that kind of thinking. It is critically important for the entrepreneurs and business people of London to become more engaged with the university, to help build its standing and reputation. This ambition is one of the reasons I accepted the position as Chancellor. Also, it is the ambition of the President, the Provost, and Dr. Capone, the Vice President of Research. John, where are you? There you are. I was privileged and feel privileged to this day to join them in this most worthy of endeavors. And I urge you to do the same and join with us. I believe there is at present a historical opportunity of achieving a different balance at Western. We have entered an era where the idea of silos is no longer effective, where whole solutions do not come to those who only see half the equation. And Western, with your help, through involvement and through your leadership, providing not just money, but time and ability. In order to solve the monumental issues facing the country today, we must work across disciplines and boundaries, which is why we are faced with so many different venture and philanthropic opportunities, just waiting for each and every one here to assess what's of interest to you, what you want to do with your life and your legacy, and to consider how you want to allocate your resources, time, ability, and money. Often, seemingly unusual pairings of people and disciplines produce the most interesting solutions that allow opportunities for people to lead. You have that chance to lead at our University Western and for London as a city. The two are intertwined so deeply that one imbues and embeds the other. However, it is important to appreciate that all of these pursuits need your leading hand as a venture philanthropist. So I am proselytizing for you to become a venture philanthropist, not as a religion, but as a way of living. Whether you participate in things large or small, you will be the ones to inspire others to follow by getting involved and not just writing a check. I have been so fortunate to play an active role in addressing some of Canada's complex and urgent challenges, and these gave me the opportunity to have collaborated with our finest academic minds, great civil servants and politicians. Diane Cunningham is here. Diane, where are you? And there's one of the great politicians. I'm very proud to know her and have worked with her. Philanthropists and business leaders as well. All of these involvements have provided a window into a world I would never have witnessed had I not accepted venture philanthropy as a path forward for me within my commitment to public service. So I used it, made the emotional commitment to public service, and venture philanthropy became the tool, or the means. I now refuse to write a check and walk away because of my successes and what I have done. I urge you to try it, and I assure you, you personally will be the beneficiary, greater than the institution or effort which is receiving your time, your ability, and your money. And you'll do so in many different ways. I close with a quote or a question which Winston Churchill asked. What is the use of living if it be not to strive for noble causes and to make this muddled world a better place for those who will live in it after we are gone? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the privilege of being allowed to speak to you.